Chapter 13, Queen of Swords. Not Two of Swords, Queen of Swords. Okay, our girl's got her hair up in a ponytail. This is serious business. We're going down for the final confrontation. We left the safe house with mutual promises for each side to be careful. With the possibility our devices were being monitored, we wouldn't be able to contact each other unless it was an extreme emergency. I hated that, but there was nothing to be done. I just hoped Neil could break through to the outside while we were gone, just in case this didn't work. We were on high alert as we ascended in case there were others in the area already. Vale was using their sphere to search, as they wanted me to reserve my strength for later. There was no one. Not within their range, anyway. That would have to be good enough for now. And then it was my turn. I was going to be teleporting us into the city center. There were reverse net generators in the outskirts, we assumed. Logically, there should be, but no one knew their exact location, and while Neil might be able to hunt for them in the city systems, they were busy. And we were in a hurry. We were going to the ones we knew the location of, despite that it was more dangerous. We made our way out to the rooftop.
Morgan, before you take us there, I want to show you this. A beacon is like a concentrated spire of psi that radiates outward, just like I explained before. They're tricky, and I'm not sure you can manage it without training. Even I can barely do one. But watch.
They held out their hand, and I observed as they gathered a concentration of psi there, building it up into a tightly woven column.
We talked about this before. Everything with psi comes down to mental image. Imagine in advance what you want it to do, which in this case is to release short, repeated bursts of outward projected psi. If you do that, the beacon will persist even if we have to retreat.
Like what I tried to do with my shield the other night.
I know you've never practiced this, but your psi is much more adaptable than you realize, and you pick on things with terrifying speed. What holds you back is your reluctance to rely on your psi and your general negative feelings about being an Esper.
Well, Vale really got her figured out, didn't they?
You're going to have to let go of that if you want this to work.
I understand. I think I have a good image of what I'll need to do. I expanded my sphere, targeting a place within what I thought was reasonable for my range with 2 passengers. Get close. We're going.
Don't overdo it, Morgan.
I know. And I made the first leap, followed by the second when we had barely touched down. We came to rest in an alley much closer to the center of Nysa, where we needed to be. Ugh. They swallowed hard, holding themselves up against the wall.
Wish you'd informed me you were going to do 2 of those that fast.
Sorry. Are you two okay?
Just give me a minute.
Sure. I stared down at the ground, then at my hands as if, I don't know, I'd find answers or reassurance there. 2 jumps over that distance and only a slight drop of pain at the back of my head that was already fading. Is this what it means to be a queen rank? Ari had done the same thing that day in Cisalis, but he had no doubt trained for years. Hard. I'd played around with teleporting around Quill's terrace for a few days, and I could already do something like this. Psi really was a terrifying ability, and I wasn't sure how hard I could push myself. But I would push myself as hard as I needed to. There was no more time for uncertainty.
Are you sure you're okay?
I'm fine. Even if I was tired, I don't have time to not be fine.
The city is so quiet. Maybe we should try to go the rest of the way on foot. Sager's probably holed up somewhere, and his people are concentrating their efforts on Stratum.
I'm impressed their security is holding up so well.
It would be weirder if the group that forms the technological and research powerhouse of the city couldn't lock down like that.
Maybe. It seemed like the citizens had either been apprehended or made to stay indoors. It wasn't the all-out street war I was expecting anyway. But no, I think we should teleport. I want to get this done and get us out of there as fast as possible.
Morgan, I'm not letting you overdo it.
I agree. We can't let you
I'm fine.
All right. But if you can't get us out of there after trying to make that beacon, then don't. We can flee on foot and find somewhere to hide. There are plenty of shops and places we can get into until you recover or someone shows up to help.
All right.
And don't forget I'm there, too. You don't have to do all this on your own. I am a bishop. Let me take out the generators with cybers. That won't be a problem for me. I can also attempt a beacon, though I doubt it will be as powerful as yours.
We can't both exhaust ourselves either, so let me do the beacon.
All right. And Rory, you're on lookout.
Of course. I'll do my best to protect you or warn you if someone is there.
His hand tightened on the sonic weapon he'd been carrying with him. He took it off one of the attackers before we left the safe house. Just in case. Good on you, Rory.
I've never used one of these before, but I'll try.
Should we do this from a distance? Keep to a covered place and snipe them from there?
I'm not sure about the strength of my cybers over a distance, and there aren't many covered places where we're heading anyway. And don't forget they have Espers, Morgan. We haven't been ambushed yet, but we should make no assumptions regarding whether they know what we're planning. The further away we are, the greater the chance we are stopped before we can disrupt the net. The closer we are, the more exposed we are and the more likely to be spotted. But there's a greater chance that we can still destroy them just by letting our Psi run wild.
Then we'll teleport into the open. Let's go. The reverse net generators were down by the riverside. They were designed to look like decorative sculptures, but Quill had pointed them out to me before. I located a spot near them and held out my hands for Rory and Vale so we could teleport. My heart was in my throat when we stepped into the open, despite knowing that I'd have been aware of anyone nearby. It did little to quell the anxiety of getting caught. For a moment, we stood still, gauging the surrounding area. Rory moved to the top of a set of stairs, face serious as he glanced around. Vale started down the steps toward the 3 reverse net generators.
All right. It would be better if we could do this without a fuss, but I have no idea how to shut them down quietly, and we don't have time to figure it out. As much as I hate to do this.
They set their hand on one side of the hexagonal device, and I watched the spiral of Psi pulse down their arm, exploding with a bright flare of light when it reached their palm. Vale jerked their hand back and jumped away as the device shorted out, then let up a stream of smoke. Sorry, I got distracted by there actually being a stream of smoke.
One down.
I had my eyes glued to Vale, mentally preparing for the beacon they wanted me to try. Just build my Psi up and imagine the steps it needs to follow. Focus. It was going well until the moment Rory shouted my name and bolted toward me, dragging me down the stairs to where Vale was. Before I even realized what was happening, there was a bright flash and a pop that almost sent me staggering into the net generators. And then smoke was everywhere, stinging my eyes and burning my throat. I gagged against it, groping to find Vale and Rory, who I could hear and sense but not see. There were others nearby too. I wasn't sure how many. That was way too fast. Eyes still burning from the smoke in the air, I sent a quick but fairly weak whirl of Psi away from my body in the hopes it would clear some of it out. Vale! Something hard and metallic hit the ground nearby and rolled to a stop. I heard a succession of rapid beeps and for one terrifying moment thought it was a bomb. But nothing happened. Finally, I felt Vale's hand on mine and reached to make a grab for Rory's arm so we could locate each other.
Morgan, I can't use Psi.
Oh, it's one of those disruptor thingies. Well, too bad for them, I can use Psi.
Same.
Both of them were coughing, hoarse. I retracted my shield in an instant, confused. Psi dampener of some kind? But I wasn't affected? Someone's here. Vale was still bent over, coughing heavily as we were surrounded by what I assumed were SD officers or Vic Sager's people. The 3 of us bunched close together, very aware of the weapons aimed at us. Oh, you came in person! Well, aren't you the cocky one? Bleh.
That went smoother than I expected.
Wait, Sager came here himself? So he had to have known about this plan, right? There's no way, like, how did he know exactly where we were gonna be? Don't you have, like, a city to take over or something, dude? My goodness. I was astonished when he himself stepped through the crush of officers surrounding us, holding a bit of cloth to his face as the stinging smoke still cleared out.
My bishops told me that if we just stayed far enough away with reverse nets engaged, you wouldn't know we were here. I suppose I should be grateful they're more adept than you. We knew well in advance you'd come here.
Okay, fine, he's got bishops. Shit.
I've never heard you say that before.
Never been quite this annoyed in front of you before.
Oh my.
They were joking, but I heard that tremble in their voice and squeezed their hand tighter.
What exactly were the three of you hoping to accomplish by destroying the reverse net? Putting Nysa on the map for anyone looking for it?
Something like that.
Not a bad plan if you could have made it succeed. Maybe if you had a few more people. Or were a little more skilled.
I'm surprised you came all the way here yourself, Vic. I expected you to be hiding in a basement somewhere.
I have it on good authority. I have nothing to worry about.
From his bishops? Did that mean we didn't have a chance from the start? Had we played into their hands? Sager started giving orders to the officers about what he wanted them to do to us, and Vale gripped my hand tighter.
We make our own future, Morgan. Even when we're fighting probability, we're never stuck in a future someone else chose. Don't forget that.
They smiled at me, and despite that there wasn't a glint of that usual silvery glow in their eyes, I wondered if they had seen ahead a little too. I squeezed their hand back, thinking I just had to wait for the right moment. If that side dampener hadn't affected me, then this was all on me right now. Several officers broke away from the group as Sager stepped a little closer to us.
Where are the others, and what is your group planning?
Ah, your very adept bishops didn't tell you that much. So you think we're going to?
We've a general idea of where Quill, Lawrence, and Locke Nikolov are hiding. One of my search groups didn't report in. They were last known to be in Sector R13. It would just be helpful to know the exact location of 2 Renegade Committee members.
It's hilarious you think we're going to tell you.
Why not? You, at the very least, have every reason to. I can do quite a lot to help you, Miss Leone.
Yeah, no. It's a no from me. I'm not interested, asshole.
Wow, you get a bit sweary when you're angry, don't you?
Vale, you are not helping.
What a shame. There are quite a lot of benefits to you aligning with me, I hope you realize. In fact, such a relationship would be mutually beneficial on multiple fronts.
Ah, you want a queen in your bag. No. I think that's like the worst possible outcome out of everybody that actually wants her. For the low price of selling out Nysa and every friend I've made here, no thank you.
Oh, come now. I can also be a friend to someone like you. I know why you're here, Morgan. I can offer you quite a lot more safety than you've received so far. It's unfortunate you found yourself in the company of Quill Lawrence instead of me.
Ugh.
You're untrained, lacking in skill, but have so much potential. Well, after Quill is found and deactivated, I suppose you won't have a reason to say no. Get the inhibitor on her and take care of the other 2. We're done here.
Deactivated? He was going to say it like that? Like Quill wasn't even a person? Hot rage washed over me. Oh, he effed up. I'd had the thought of maybe trying to talk to him, to coerce him or convince him to resolve this peacefully, to walk away. Peace was never an option. I knew right then that wasn't an option. Our chances of walking away alive had been obliterated the moment they showed up. But that didn't mean this was over. Not when I could still use this stupid, hateful ability. If we chose our own future, no matter what others saw for us, then I was making that choice now. That reluctance and fear that Vale had cautioned me about faltered, replaced by anger and cold determination. I ripped the lid off that power and unleashed it, because I would never let this man hurt anyone I cared about. I simultaneously lifted a double-layered psi shield around myself, Rory, and Vale, as I held out a hand to the psi dampening device nearby. I fired a psi burst at it, destroying it in one shot. Sager's men opened fire an instant later, causing me to flinch against the sudden repeated impacts to my shield. Rory, right behind me, put an arm around my shoulders to keep me steady. In the sudden confusion, I lost sight of Sager, but that didn't matter at the moment. It seemed like at least some of the officers went with him, intent on protecting him.
Yeah, you better run!
I gathered my psi around myself, then released it in a wide arc in front of me. It struck all the surrounding officers, sending most of them sprawling backwards and giving us a little space to breathe. Vale grabbed me tight by the shoulders. Their face was a blur, their words oddly slow and echoey.
Rory and I will try to keep them distracted. Destroy the last generator and do the beacon, just as I showed you. Don't worry about us. We'll keep them off you.
Yes. I shrank my shield to allow them to bolt away from me, keeping a vague awareness of what they were doing as I focused on doing my part. Rory, who still had the sonic pistol from before, zipped ahead of Vale and fired 3 shots in rapid succession as he ducked behind a bench for cover. Vale flung a sharp crescent of psi at someone else, a technique I wasn't familiar with. I tore my mind's eye away from them because it was a distraction. I had to trust they'd be okay. One more generator. I fired a moderate psi burst at it, blowing one of its side panels inward. There was growing pressure at the back of my skull, but I was ignoring it for now. Overdoing it was not something I could worry about at the moment. This time, on high alert, I realized there was someone nearby in time to strengthen the light shield I had around myself. But this one wasn't a normal SD officer. Hello, you. There was a swirl of blue light around them. A knight. Interesting. I see you have... You must be an augment, I guess? A shot from a sonic weapon came from off to my left somewhere, but they blocked it with a shield of their own. And they teleported right past mine. I only just dodged the first kick and the punch that followed. Rory, then Vale, shouted my name as the man lunged at me, throwing me back to the ground. I only narrowly managed to shield my head from slamming into the pavement. His hand went around my throat, but instead of trying to fight him off, I held out a desperate hand to the last generator, releasing a stronger than intended psi burst. The explosion startled my attacker enough that their hand loosened. A wild fist aimed at their head threw them off balance. Good job, girl. I scrambled away from them, kicking savagely at their ribs as I did, then followed up with another hot swirl of psi energy that sent them tumbling away. I staggered from them, head spinning with adrenaline and overuse of psi. I had to just... focus. The beacon. I had to do it now. From behind me I heard Vale shout Rory's name, and I sensed him hit the ground and curl over in pain. Vale was running toward him, but was hit with what I thought was a psi burst. This was... wrong. All of it. We were just 3 normal people. None of us wanted to fight, or knew how. We were desperate, struggling to protect who and what we loved. Instead of the carefully constructed pillar of psi, I just let it all overflow. This stupid ability of mine that had ruined my life, and at the same time had given me a new one, that took everything I cared about away, and then graciously handed me new things to care for. Why couldn't it just help me the way I wanted? The one time I needed it, why was I so useless? My psi flared bright, spiraling up and outward with a brilliant flash. Behind me, the knight was coming again, but a tendril of psi lashed out, flinging him away and over the railing right into the water. And despite the pain, I unleashed all that pent-up rage and frustration. I glared over my shoulder at an officer aiming a weapon right at Rory, who was looking up at him, blood trickling down his temple. Vale was crumpled next to him. No! That was the last thing I saw before everything went white. My awareness didn't fade. I didn't lose consciousness or get lost in the rage, if that was a thing. Not entirely. It was like watching from a distance, staying in control while also somewhat disconnected from the events unfolding. I knew to shield Rory and Vale from what I was about to do, and keep that shield around them the entire time, like a thin, protective bubble. I was aware of picking up several nearby cars, one that had people inside it, and lifting them high before slamming them back into the pavement, sending crushed metal and glass flying. Several more people found their way into the river, courtesy of my Psy. I ripped a bench away from the pavement and steel anchors to fling it at a fleeing officer. And then there was nothing else but the raging pulse of Psy energy fluctuating around me, building up to the sky like a pillar as I tried to construct the beacon Vale had talked about. And I was finally swallowed up by it all. It wasn't raging or destructive. It felt like being in the eye of a storm as Psy poured out of me like a cascade of light and energy that drowned out everything. Maybe I was just trying to shield myself so I could maintain that desperate call for help. Time was meaningless in that void. I could only curl up inside myself and listen to the roar. Until at some point there was someone calling my name, their voice dim and far away. It didn't register at first, not above everything else. I almost didn't notice the warm arms that wrapped around me. Arms that didn't trigger my defenses or register any sort of threat. A voice that felt safe. Quill. I don't know where he pulled my consciousness from. Somewhere deep inside where I'd started to go to sleep. And I was afraid that I was going to harm him. That this power I wanted to use to protect would instead destroy the person I loved. That sudden fear was like covering a flame with a lid. You saved her. Good job, Quill. My Psy went out, and I was falling, unable to see through the explosion of pain that came with regaining my awareness. Quill? I croaked out his name as he crouched beside me. His face was a pale blur against the backdrop of the city.
Damn it, Morgan! Can you hear me?
Quill! He shouted to someone over his shoulder and pulled me close. How are you here?
Come on. We need to get you somewhere away from this spot. Just stay with me.
I nodded. I wasn't exactly going anywhere on my own. Ah, to the cafe. Perfect. There was a buzz of voices and people, and before I knew it, I was in a familiar place, warm and curled up in a blanket. The voices around me were difficult to follow in my semi-conscious state. I had no real idea what was happening for a while. I only knew my head hurt, badly. And then Quill was next to me again, pushing my hair out of my face, blue eyes standing out in stark contrast to everything else. I reached for him just to make sure he was real as he pushed the cup into my hands and helped me drink.
Still with us?
Dunno. Head hurts.
Well, you were in the middle of making an effort to burn out your Psy and kill yourself in the process, so I suppose that makes sense.
Oh.
We're calling for a doctor that can help.
Why are you here? You were supposed to be hiding. I mumbled the words as I leaned my head against his shoulder. One of his hands made its way to my cheek.
You should rest for now.
I tried to push the hand away. Tell me.
I'll give it to you in brief, okay? Then you will rest until a doctor gets here.
Okay.
First, you came damn close to burning yourself out by doing whatever the hell you were doing. Vale says it was some kind of power surge or something, but not like one they've ever seen. While the three of you were off playing soldier, Neil and Eretz broke through the communications barrier. That was about 25 minutes after you left.
So we could have just waited? I'd have preferred to not know something as annoying as that. Right? Like, really?
They got out a broadcast of what media outlets were still working, countering Sager's claims. They stated the committee was unlawfully attacked by people wanting to control and profit from Nysa's research, and that the story of the relics was false.
and meant to implicate the people standing in Sager's way. We revealed what we have about the Arensal leaks, stating we've been investigating in secret for a while. And we reached out to Aurelie with that information, requesting aid. We weren't able to do more before we were locked out again, but that was enough. Aurelie can override the lockout as long as they have reason to. It just takes some time.
Good for them.
Aurelie made a public statement and have sent help, vowing to investigate the matter themselves.
I gotta say, it's very unnerving that it's so quiet. There's like no music whatsoever. I'm just like, just to, underscore the fact that our girl is absolutely done.
But, in order to preempt anyone else trying something, they have publicly acknowledged Nysa's existence. There were fears about New Albion attempting to use the research angle to supersede their control and step in under the guise of safeguarding the Triad. We've been granted emergency status as an official dome under Aurelie's central government.
What does that mean for everyone?
We don't know yet. A few other committee members have come out of hiding now that Aurelie is knocking at the city doors. We don't know where Sager is, but we think his people are still holed up somewhere.
How did you get here?
I left right after Neil broke through the barrier. Encountered some allies on the way who gave me a lift. We weren't the only ones hiding in the outskirts, turns out. You may not realize it, but you were in that power surge state for over 2 hours. No one could get close to you.
Damn. How are you still alive, girl? I sat up swiftly, wincing when I realized that was a bad idea. Ow. Head. So much pain.
Okay, stop moving. You were supposed to rest after I told you all this.
Sorry to interrupt, but they're here.
I assume the doctor that's coming is you? Probably.
Brace yourself, Morgan. Some other annoying guest came calling. Though I guess that was what we were aiming at. They're the main reason I can be here now.
He gently moved me so he could stand, allowing me to lean against the cushions as he walked a short distance away. My vision was too blurred to see very far, but I could hear the voices, one of which rose above the others. Yep, that's my boy, you!
I don't particularly care what you think. Unless you want the brain damage to be permanent, I suggest you step aside and let me examine her.
My, you, there's no reason to be so angry.
Stop attempting to provoke me, you buffoon. Why are you even here?
Did Magnus come too? He's like, I ain't missing this. I'm coming out of that tower. There was more bickering, then an unfamiliar face came into view. A slim, blonde man who looked rather annoyed. And just like that, music came back into my world. Before I could do anything, he placed a pneumatic injector against my upper arm and injected me with something.
This is a medication that will help calm your auric system. It is an emergency treatment after extreme power surges. I am Dr. Yusaski, Chief Medical Officer of Endgame. I will be looking after you. I have no idea what kind of fool brought you to a cafe instead of a hospital.
Endgame. So they did show up. I tried to lie still as he started his examination of me, wincing at the sudden bright light he was shining in my eyes. Nearby, the others were still speaking as well.
Hyperactivity of the corimbus occultatum, as expected. Overstimulation of the optic nerve has caused mild damage. From your file, I'm aware the hair is from a prior incident, but you have other physiological effects indicating overuse of psi. Are you experiencing blurred vision?
He picked another injector out of his medical kit and fitted it with a small vial.
This is an analgesic. Based on the cortisol levels and activity along the trigeminal nerves, I imagine you are in quite severe pain.
A little.
Miss Leone, you have caused yourself moderate brain damage within your auric system and the surrounding tissues. I assure you that it is not the sort of damage that comes with a little pain.
I get it. Yes, it's a severe headache. Stop shouting.
My tone of voice is well within normal speaking parameters. Hyperacusis also noted.
I tried to tune him out as he kept muttering to himself and checking the scanner in his hand. Instead, I fixed my gaze over his shoulder at Quill and a man I couldn't recognize or see clearly. There were others beyond them that were just blurs of black and white uniforms. But the man with Quill seemed to notice me looking. He stepped closer, barely moving into focus. Well, hello, Mr. Tangerine Boy.
Morgan Leone, what a pleasure to meet you at last. I'm Magnus Ulrich. You may have heard of me.
So, this guy. Don't distract. Just behave, okay? I don't want your crap. Magnus Ulrich, the head of Endgame, was here? I could feel my headache getting worse just at the thought of what that meant.
Do ignore him. I have no idea why they even let him out of the tower.
Come now, you. Don't be mean. You'll make a terrible first impression on your patient. Besides, this is a rather exceptional situation. An entire city of not just neo-humans, but Espers as well, appears on the map out of nowhere, all hidden for years behind an expansive and advanced reverse net. Until our bishops took note of a massive and, frankly, distressing psi signal that was detected all the way around the world. Of course I had to come see it myself.
You've seen it. Now, as soon as your doctor is finished, I hope you'll leave.
Oh dear. I'm not sure we can just ignore this so easily.
When did you get here?
They arrived about 45 minutes before I was able to get to you.
They got here pretty fast, all things considered. Still too late to be of any use to us, of course.
Vale! Wait, had they been there the entire time? I really was out of it, wasn't I?
I believe I told you to check yourself and your companion into the nearest hospital. You received only triage care and should not be up and moving around. And it's hard to arrive on time to a place concealed with so many reverse nets, even our most adept bishops couldn't see it, until the queen rank you were hiding decided to blow everything up.
Oh, he was here.
Well, that was the point, after all.
Then maybe don't make snide remarks about us being late.
I'm in a bit of a bad mood, Mr. Jung. Please don't pick a fight with me right now.
And now, everyone. If you don't want our little you to start throwing things, fighting near one of his patients is highly inadvisable. Especially if you are also one of his patients. He gets testy about that.
I'm about to get testy if you keep patronizing us.
On that, at least, we can agree.
I was too tired for these people right now. Good grief. They just came in full guns blazing. Sarcasm guns blazing. If you were here for that long, it would have been nice if someone stopped me before I gave myself brain damage.
I was not here, but our teams believed they could not intervene without killing you. You were quite sensitive to anything or anyone you perceived to be a threat, meaning only your companions were able to safely step within the radius of your psi.
Caleb tried. You flung him quite a shocking distance away. He was terribly annoyed.
Good.
Though I heard from our dear Vaughn that it was a rather entertaining sight.
I'm sorry I missed it. Well, I'm not really too upset by that. From what he said, though. Quill got to me because he wasn't a threat, but no one else had been able to get close. As if summoned by my thoughts of him, Quill came to my other side and sat down, ignoring the disapproving look the doctor gave him. At least the pain was clearing up enough I could think straight again. What happens now?
Well, we have quite the mess to help clean up. I believe our council would refer to this entire situation as a PR nightmare.
It's a hell of a lot more than just that.
Perhaps. But I fear the public outcry about the situation as information about it spreads is likely to be a driving factor in what happens now.
I don't care that much about Nysa's public image to the outside, as long as its population is safe.
How noble. Unfortunately, many will attempt to weaponize what happened here. After all, the rogue queen rank everyone so badly wanted to acquire suddenly appears in a place like this, and has been offered asylum by Aurelie.
Wait, what? When did that happen?
Along with the entire population of a small but thriving city. An unregulated substance being used to experiment on people, potentially by some very important world powers. Truly disturbing, all of it. And what is Endgame to do about all that? Shut this place down? Cart away its people? Apprehend the new little queen? That seems to be such a shame. I suppose we'll just have to find another option.
That's my boy Magnus. I really hated the way this man spoke. Something about it was quite irritating. Hey, it's my knight.
Magnus, the tower is calling you back to fill in the council with your personal report.
Yes, I know. I've been ignoring them for the last 10 minutes, Ari.
They can't make me go back.
They are growing quite insistent I return you to Cor Solaris, whether you wish me to or not.
How irritating. It appears that's all I have time for today, Miss Leone. But I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. For now, rest easy in the knowledge I don't intend to order anyone to cart you or anyone else away.
Thank you.
Our teams will be staying to help clean up the situation, though, as there is still quite a lot left to containing the situation. But I'll be sure we don't overstay our welcome.
You already have, but I suppose it's necessary this time.
Oh dear. I knew I wasn't liked here, but it seems even worse than I thought.
If you didn't insist on behaving the way you do...
Time to go, Ari!
He turned away, clapping twice. Though he turned back to smile at Quill over his shoulder.
It really is a shame Endgame is so disliked in this lovely little city. Mara, I'm sure you and the other Kingsguard members will find your own way back in time.
And with that, he just... left. He stepped close to Ari and they were gone.
Looks like you lucked out somehow, Leone.
Sure. Lucky.
Sasuke, you'll be fine on your own.
There are 2 medical units nearby. I'm hardly on my own, Caleb.
Sure. Then we'll be going too. Still a bit of roundup to be done. Lawrence, our control teams are requesting your presence. They want you to make a statement. We'll escort you. Fine.
He squeezed my hand and left with the others with some reluctance.
Miss Leone, the medical facilities in this city are woefully lacking for humans, and particularly Espers. I would much prefer to take you to the medical ward of Endgame for treatment. I'm not unaware of your situation. However, you cannot continue to be triaged on a street corner. Despite that you are remarkably awake and coherent, your medical state is serious. We'll be transporting you to the nearest medical facility designed for human patients, and I will continue your treatment there.
Ah. Okay.
I'll be coming with you.
Yes, you will. As you need treatment yourself, Mox Soriano, and Mr. Martin.
I've been lectured twice already, Doctor.
If you had listened the first time, it would only have been once.
I didn't realize there were other agents nearby until you asked them to bring a field stretcher so I could be carried out, despite that I very much wanted to walk. Everything else faded for a while. I was transported to a very nice hospital that looked a lot like Endgame and treated. I slept a lot, while everyone else dealt with, well, everything. I didn't receive updates or visitors for a while. And when Quill finally came, he refused to talk about the situation other than to say that Endgame had things under control. They were treating it like any other job, it seemed. Things were shaky, but some normalcy had returned. That at least was something to be grateful for.